Hello and welcome to Torquay on the English Riviera for some spectacular small boat racing. Round one of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. Now, 18-foot skiffs are relatively new to this country, but these three-man flying machines have been thrilling crowds in Sydney Harbour for years. Yes, it's short, sharp racing close inshore, with the famous bridge and opera house providing a stunning backdrop. At the World Championships, several teams from Britain travelled down under for a taste of the action. Their learning curve was steep, the falls hard. But it led to the launch of the first UK Skiff Grand Prix. Now, Torquay may not be as glitzy as Sydney Harbour. After all, it's your typically English seaside resort. But for the 11 teams preparing for the first race, the tension couldn't be greater. Crews busy themselves making final adjustments before putting their skiffs in the water. A newcomer to this extrovert class is top British sailor Laurie Smith. He's apprehensive.
OK, John, let's go. Probably damage ourselves, the boat, and other people as well if the wind gets too strong. Dangerous machines we're sailing here.
A lot of the time you break gear or people. Last weekend we broke somebody's nose, so it's very easy to get hurt. So you don't want to do it lightly, that's for sure.
So, as the 11 brave or foolhardy crews head out into Torquay, let's join our commentators John Harjart and Malcolm McCaig.
8 races will make up the series for the skiffs, but for this first race on Torquay, just a light breeze off the land and a big swell. Tim Robinson in Rockport and Clive Everest in RS Racing come to the line.
And here we are on board in Southwest Musto. He's just pulling the sails on. It's a bit of a light breeze there. They've probably sailed into a bit of a patch. Oh no, it's coming over on top of them. And there they go. They're just falling in right on top. They've capsized at the start. Disaster for them.
Just got himself jammed in under the wind shadow of Rockport, put too much power on. Rockport neatly away with Tim Robinson and his crew out on the rack. And this is the course they're racing. A beat up to the windward mark. Then a power reach out to a jibe mark, jibe at the turn, power reach into the leeward mark, and then beat back up to the start and finish line. They go through that, that's one round. The second round is round the windward mark, then straight down through the gate, round the leeward mark on a deep run, and back up to the start and finish line. About a mile between the windward and the leeward marks and a half hour for the race.
And here we are back on the track. It looks like Laurie Smith has lost a bit of breeze up the first beat and he's struggling a little bit, just trying to get the boat back up, right and back up to speed. Look at the concentration on their faces. They're looking for the wind.
And this is Martin Jones, first into the windward mark, leading in aquatonic. Tacks for the mark, coming in on starboard with Tim Robinson just immediately behind him in Rockport. A good start for Martin Jones.
Ian Southworth recovered from his disastrous start and he's making his way back up the first beat now. And there's Laurie Smith just coming up to the top mark. He's in the 5th there, just getting up, setting up for the tack. They're going to tack round the first mark and bear off and go put that big spinnaker off down the first reach.
Neil MacDonald with the blonde hair and the diamond on his harness straight out on the rack. But this is Martin Jones powering down the second reach. Just dropping the Jenniker for a moment or two. Southworth and Musto still having a bit of trouble. He's wearing a head camera. This is the view we're getting now. It seems to be causing him to wobble a bit, but the kite up cleanly. Just trying to steady the boat, keep the racks out of the water.
Oh dear, he got the rack right in the water again. It looks like a disaster from the start again, but no, we're back on the track and it's Martin Jones just crossing on starboard ahead of Rockport there. That was Tim Robinson's Rockport.
Clive Everest has dropped it in RS Racing as Southworth takes it past. And now Rockport is in front of Martin Jones. That's Rockport into the lead.
But look what's happened. Dave Ovington's got a good shift up that side of the beat and he's got right out in front and he's got into the lead now.
Heading off now down the deep run, just getting round Mickey Todd in the yellow boat.
Second place, Martin Jones there having a little bit of trouble. He's gone into a little bit of a gap in the wind, but back out in front. Dave Ovington with a big white spinnaker in slam. He's being followed now, Martin Jones. He's got his big blue spinnaker up now.
And these two well in front of the next pair. Mickey Todd having a bit of trouble with the pink spinnaker. in the middle of the fleet.
Back on board Musto. They've got the boat upright. They're still in the race. Oh no, they got another wobble on it. Looks like they just about got away with that. They're right up in the air for the helmsman, wobbling around. But back up in the front is still Slam ahead. Rockport still below, but Rockport's going a lot quicker here. Slam's got his wing in the water, run into a bit of a gap, and he's been overtaken to leeward.
Laurie Smith is picking his way up through the fleet. He's got himself up into third place now, coming out to the right of the course, powering the boat in.
Looks like the breeze has kicked in a little bit as all the boys are out on the wire on Rockport, still ahead of Slam with Diamond just behind them.
Mickey Todd still coming up the beat as the leaders now go down the deep run, but that somebody has dropped in the water, and here is Ian Southworth in trouble as well. Big squall has come through, causing a lot of problems.
And look down at the bottom, the leader's just going round the bottom mark, and Tim Robinson's just thrown it in the tide. He's fallen in front of Diamond. Jeepers, they've had to get onto that centreboard pretty quickly. They're trying to leave the boat back upright, looking over their shoulder to see where Diamond's coming from.
Big chance for Smith now as Dave Hall in Hyde drops it in the water as well. But where is Smith? Is he going to be able to capitalise? Rockport's upright, stopped dead in the water. Here comes Smith, he's going to steal it from them. Hard out on the rack, straight up the final beat and across the finish line first.
In race 1 then, Diamond got the better of Rockport and in third place Martin Jones' boat. Race 2 saw the same 3 skiffs at the top in the same order, Musto coming fourth. In the final race of the day, Rockport swapped pole position with Diamond, RS Racing was third. Well, there's no doubt who's made the biggest impact on this inaugural Grand Prix, Skiff Racing's rookie, Laurie Smith.
I've got Neil MacDonald, he is the most experienced skiff sailor in this country. He's done 3 seasons in Australia with the best guys out there. So he sort of gets us around the course and tells us when to luff up and bear away and hoist the spinnaker or keep it in the bag.
I think these guys who sail as much as Laurie do, they pick these things up extraordinarily quickly. We've had a few weekends now, and we're already at a level of the top level here, I feel. So it's just his time in other classes helps, and he picks it up very quickly.
After 3 races, Diamond has a 2 points lead over Rockport, Musto's third. It'll come as no surprise to learn that skiffs are difficult to master. Only the most experienced crew have the skill and coordination needed just to keep the boat upright. So let's take a closer look now at the crew work on an 18-foot skiff. If you don't get it right, you'll go swimming, as simple as that. The 3 crew have a specific job on board and we'll be looking at each in turn. This week, the main focus is on the star player, the helmsman, usually the skipper, who's responsible for steering the boat.
Unlike most other small boats, there are 3 guys on board, and so getting the teamwork together is absolutely crucial. You've got this and you're out about here, so you're a long way from the boat. You've got your 2 guys next to you, and the balance obviously is very, very important. I'll probably be the last one to move. You've got the man at the front, he runs in and out. The man in the middle with his main sheet controlling the power of the sail, and me at the back controlling the direction. Smoothness that's important, and any sharp movement, if you move the rudder in a sharp way, then it acts as a brake. So that's what you're trying to avoid, and trying to make the boat as level as it can be and all the movements as smooth as possible.
Torquay day 2 and the knives are out to get Mr. Smooth operator himself, Laurie Smith. More great action after the break. Welcome back to Torquay and round 1 of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. After 3 races, the name of one man is on everyone's lips, the skipper of the leading boat, Diamond.
Laurie's got to be the man of the moment, isn't he?
Laurie Smith.
the man everybody wants to beat.
But he's not winning by much. We beat him in the last race, and we beat him in the second last race until we kept size at the last mark. So it's pretty even. So I'm hopeful that we'll beat him.
Laurie Smith, of course, has other ideas. Race 4 now. Let's rejoin our commentary team of John Hodgart and Malcolm McCaig.
The gun from the committee vessel signals 3 minutes to go. The blue and white flag shows they're under starters' orders.
Let's have it level. Level, please. Come on, level.
So that's Dave Ovington on board Slam there, just about to put a tack in. He's trying to set his boat up and control it before the start. Sometimes it helps if they can put the wing in the water, slow themselves down. There's Martin Jones doing that with Aquatonic.
Let's have the wing in, please. Let the mainsail off, Johnny.
This is the one instance where they like the wing in the water so as to slow the boat as they come in from the start. Skiff's the only boats in the world with brakes.
Tim Robinson a little bit early there. He's going to have to slow down and bear off a bit.
Let's go.
Dave Ovington willing his crew ahead, trying to get him over the line.
Let's go.
But it's a good start from Rockport.
And Martin Jones nicely placed as well. Dave Ovington in Slams come off the line well, but he's right astern of Tim Robinson in Rockport. He's got a dilemma. He's going to have to tack away from there because he's getting bad air off the back of Rockport's sails.
Let's tack in. Nice and slow.
And it's a good tack from Dave Ovington there. You can see the Aquatonic boat there steered by Martin Jones just crossing ahead of him on starboard. He had right away.
About halfway up the beat now, Clive Everest in RS Racing goes into attack. Ovington tacks to cover him. Very deep, but now doing to Everest what Rockport did to him.
Just coming up to the top mark now. Tim Robinson and his boys on Rockport. Oh, look, they've run into a bit of a gap in the breeze and the rig's fallen over on top of them, but they're back upright and going up towards the top mark.
Robinson lining up now to come in for the windward mark. He very much wants to beat Laurie Smith, but might be. He's upside down in base one.
Back on board with Dave Ovington there. He's looking, he's just having to go around behind these boats just ahead of him, and he'll tack round to go round the top mark.
Of course, coming in on port tack like that, he has to give way to traffic coming in from the right, just as if you're driving in France. Now they set off down the second reach, but this is Robinson already well out in the lead, powering down the second power reach, flying along doing maybe 20-25 knots, while the rest of the fleet are still on the first reach.
Set the mark down a little bit.
Dave Ovington can see the black kite way ahead of them of Tim Robinson. And here we are back with Tim Robinson. He's dropped the kite nice and cleanly, and they're just approaching the bottom mark. He's just swapping hands with the tiller. A nice smooth rounding round the bottom mark.
Come on, yeah.
Coming in now with Ovington, and not nearly such a neat rounding. The kite snagged up on the forestay, the wing trailing in the water. Laurie Smith is through into second place. Ovington has Martin Jones outside him, but he has the vital inside of the turn, so he has right of way.
Let's have the wing in the water. You come, Trot.
Martin Jones just clearing behind him. Oh, he's just got inside him. But there's Laurie Smith. He can see, just beginning to see Rockport. You can see them putting the power on, pulling the boat back upright, just getting maximum power. There's Rockport just ahead of him, pumping the boat to keep it going at maximum speed.
And Mike B's in more trouble now with the Jenniker wrapped right round the head of the mainsail. And the Goodlad brothers from Scotland also dropped it in the water. Mike's decided best way to get this knot undone, lay the boat on its side, run along the mainsail, go for a swim. Clive Everest in RS Racing. Now the breeze really has kicked in. See him deep powering the mainsail as they go into attack.
Watch the movement of the rudder at the back of the boat there, in the helmsman's hand, with his hand on the tiller. Oh, he's corrected too early. And he's luffed the boat up into the wind. They've lost the breeze, and it's going to fall. It's falling over on top of them. Oh dear, that's the end of the race for them.
Tim Robinson, well up the beat now, going for the top mark again. Nicely out in front. These boats doing 14, 15 knots even on the wind.
Looks like a nice tack now from Tim. Watch the rudder at the back there. You see what he did? He corrected properly there. He's got his crew back out on the wire, and they're just getting themselves clipped onto the wires, onto the racks, and then just bearing off around this top mark. First in there's the front man, Bruce Grant. He's just opening the bag, and the two front men going to hoist the kite. Pete Allen pulling it all the way to the top of the mast, while Bruce is pulling it out to the end of the pole. And then they'll pop the kite on and power off down the run.
Beautifully coordinated teamwork. And here they come past Dave Ovington. Slam just rolls in slightly to windward as they go under the wind shadow of that big kite. But now this is Ovington coming into the windward mark, and that is Laurie Smith behind Ovington. So Ovington has got in front of Smith.
And it looks like Smith's going to tack around the outside of him, but Ovington's going to hold him up there.
So this is very good news now for Robinson. He has 2 boats between him and Laurie Smith, his main rival in this series. Robinson taking every advantage to power off down the run, nicely out into the lead.
Still in second place, Jones, going into a jibe, a nice smooth jibe, gets the kite across and the boom goes across and they're back up to power.
Ovington chasing Smith now, the 2 of them going into a jibe together, but Smith stops the boat, digs the rack in the water, a chance for Ovington to go through.
Robinson maintaining his lead up the last beat. And Slam's still in second, just ahead of Diamond as they round the bottom mark.
But that's a slow takedown from Dave Ovington's crew, a chance for Smith to come through. He goes through to windward, rolls the boat into attack. And he's going to take Rockport. He's powering up now towards the finish line. Rockport coming in from the left. Laurie Smith steals the race once again from Tim Robinson.
The results from day 2 then, and confirmation of Diamond's victory in race 4, followed by Slam. Another win for Smith in race 5 with Rockport second and Mustoe third. Race 6 saw Diamond drop out of the top 2. Rockport's victory keeps Tim Robinson's championship hopes alive. But Laurie Smith still heads the pack by 3 points with 2 races to go. Now, Smith may be new to skiffs, but few yachtsmen can boast as much experience of top-class competitive sailing. As a high-profile skipper in 2 Whitbread Round the World races, Laurie proved himself a master of deep ocean racing. But he's equally adept in round-the-cans competition, whether it's dinghies or state-of-the-art keelboats. Skiffs, though, have really got his adrenaline pumping.
When you get the spinnaker going downwind, and you roll 3 out on the trapeze, it's quite good. Quite gets the heart going a bit. Free falling off the side of a mountain or something like that is probably fairly similar, hoping that you survive.
His family are just pleased to watch him sailing in this country for once.
We're down supporting Daddy. They just like being involved with what Laurie does. Just even though they probably don't see him very much during the day, but it's just nice to know he's here. And I think they like a change of scene. Is he going to win? Yeah. Is he going to beat Tim? Otherwise he gets a bit grumpy, doesn't he?
But with 2 more races to go, the outcome is far from certain. Diamond and Rockport may be favourites to win the regatta, but the competition for the minor places is just as fierce.
All we can do, really, because we're last in the queue at the moment, is go for first. We need 2 firsts, basically.
We could have been leading by more if we hadn't messed the last race up so much.
Final one was good, and Laurie didn't have a very good one, so, you know, we're going to hit with a good chance tomorrow, I think.
All for 3rd, 4th, 5th, really, up for grabs. I think 1st and 2nd are long gone.
4 or 5 people all fighting around about their 3rd place. We'll just have to go out there and be steady, I think.
To the final race now, and Diamond still can't afford a bad slip-up. Here's John and Malcolm again.
And a big crowd at the committee boat end. boxed together. A very slow start for that group of boats. Laurie Smith badly buried, and Tim Robinson well away, but Martin Jones with the very best of that start.
Yes, there's Laurie boxed in there. He's maybe going to have to tack out of this. He's going for a tack now. Jeepers, is he going to clear ahead of Slam?
He's going to have to come across behind Slam. He's on port tack. He's got no rights. He's not, you know. He's going to try and go between the two of them.
Doesn't look like it's possible from this angle. He's got to go behind RS as well. He's zigzagged his way through the gap there. Fantastic piece of judgment.
Martin Jones going off on his own in search of clear breeze, wants to keep out of the ruck, but Laurie Smith leading a long line of boats in from the left-hand course towards the mark.
And there's RS Racing with Clive Everest behind him and the big pink hammer of Mickey Todd.
Martin Jones now tacking for the mark, coming across. Will he get in front of that long line of boats led by Laurie Smith?
Laurie's just putting a tack in right by the mark there. He slowed him down a little bit, so they're neck and neck as they go down the first reach.
Beautiful piece of judgment again on port tack by Laurie Smith, but that slow turn has let Martin Jones get right outside round him.
It's going to be a big fight to see who can get the spinnaker up first, to see who can maintain the lead here.
And Tim Robinson well back now. Laurie Smith has 3-4 boats between him and Robinson as Robinson goes round the mark. Dave Hall and Clive Everest together, very much together. This is a chance now for Robinson as he sets that big black kite to get off after Smith. Oh dear, Hall and Everest with their cherry pickers terribly entangled.
Laurie Smith still ahead, just going into a jibe now. Nice smooth jibe there. Zeb Elliott working the kite at the front, getting the boat back up to speed. And then we can see behind them there's Jones chasing them still quite hard, but Robinson's way back in the back of the fleet.
Nowhere to be seen, and this looks like Laurie Smith going to set the seal on the series. Oh dear, the good lads from Scotland. Yet more trouble, a torn kite.
Two Scotsmen side by side there.
But Laurie Smith, well out in front, takes this final race to give him 6 races out of the 8 and the series.
Here's confirmation of the last day's action, and in race 7, Diamond beat Rockport with Martin Jones in 3rd place. There was no change at the top in the final race. Slam were 4th, Mike Bees on base 1, 5th. So the champagne goes to Laurie Smith and his crew on Diamond. They're naturally delighted with their performance.
Very nice. Yeah, very pleased with that. Yeah, can't complain about 6 things out of 8, really, can you? It's a very new class, so as time goes by, you know, there's a lot of good sailors out there, and they've got to get the teamwork together better. We just had it going well this weekend, but Tim wasn't far behind, was he?
A bit disappointed, but we'll come back next time. We're going to do a lot more practice, and our intention is very much to beat him.
What do you think of Laurie Smith, who's hardly sailed these boats before?
He's done pretty well, hasn't he? He's sort of been going, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, and there he is, wins his first regatta. So good luck to him.
And here's the final points tally. Each team were allowed to drop their worst result. Diamond finished clear winners ahead of Rockport, Aquatonic, Slam, Musto and RS Racing. Laurie Smith proving just how versatile a sailor he is. Certainly the man to beat in this new Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. Well, round 2 takes us to the other end of the country, to Tynemouth, Newcastle. So join us there. But for now, from Torquay, goodbye.
Hello and welcome to Tynemouth, Newcastle for round 2 of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. Top British oddsman Laurie Smith on Diamond heads a fleet of 11 spectacular three-man sailboats, preparing to do battle on the dark, choppy waters of the North Sea.
A cold, blustery north wind and huge waves crashing over the seawall made racing on the first day a frightening proposition. None of the crew had sailed in such bad weather before.
Basically, we're here to compete, and you've got to compete in all sorts of conditions. And if the committee decides to go out in those conditions, then that's what we do.
You know, the launching's quite hard because it's just so shifty as you launch, and there's a few rocks around, so it's testing, shall we say.
The racecourse was set inside the breakwater where it was more sheltered, but there was a big swell and the harbour walls were a major hazard. Tynemouth was shaping up to be a sailor's nightmare.
The walls are frightening, the weather's despicable, the people are great. As a place to sail, I'd probably rather be in the south of France, but you can't have it all.
Slam set sail first and looked so small and fragile against the towering harbour walls and alongside ships leaving the River Tyne. But there was no turning back. As the 6-minute gun sounds, let's quickly recap on the opening round of the Grand Prix series in Torquay. And the event was dominated by one man, top yachtsman Laurie Smith, a newcomer to the class and skipper of Diamond. Several skiffs like Musto and Slam gave him a run for his money in fairly benign conditions, and Rockport, skippered by Tim Robinson, beat Diamond to pole position in 2 of the 8 races. But Smith & Co. triumphed in all the others. His tactical genius combined with the expertise of his crew, both experienced skiff racers, made Diamond a very tough nut to crack. But will they be quite so successful in Tynemouth's far from ideal conditions? Let's join commentator Malcolm McKay.
At last, the breeze has dropped enough for the committee to set a course, but they're still inside the harbour. They daren't go out into the North Sea itself. It's still blowing 20 knots and out of the north. This is Ian Southworth coming up to the start. They're on the line and they go. It's a very ragged start in these conditions. Finesse tends to go out the window. Survival is the name of the game, and Southworth having trouble surviving even off the start line. Got himself stuck under the lee of Dave Ovington. Sailed into a flat patch. That's Dave Hall and Hyde having to come back and restart as the rest of the fleet gets away, and Dave Ovington in Slam, the local boy, with a lot to prove here, but at least he is sailing in his own conditions on his own home waters. And Southworth in even more trouble. He's dropped it now up onto the plate, try and get the boat back up onto its feet, but I suspect that today we're going to see a lot of skiffs on their side. This is the course they're sailing. From the start line, a beat round the windward mark, 2 very fast reaches round the jibe mark and down to the leeward mark. Then another hard beat back up through the start and finish line to the windward mark again. When they get there, the terrible turn to bear away, straight down the run, down to the leeward mark, round that, back up to the start and finish gate. And they'll do that as many times as it takes to sail a 30-minute race. Looking down the course now at Tim Robinson in Rockport coming in from the left-hand side, but look at the seas outside the harbour as they crash on the beach. Rockport has to tack to avoid Aquatonic coming in, but Laurie Smith is in the lead, belting in. 25 knots they're doing as they come into the windward mark. Now he must bear away and keep the boat on its feet as he goes round. Beautifully done. Sea's so big we can barely see the hull of the boat. Aquatonic in second as they power off down the reach in pursuit of Smith. A great race for third place. Clive Everest with the yellow sail, Tim Robertson with the black sail, and Martin Goodlad from Prestwick with the pink spinnaker chasing hard. Martin Jones at the leeward mark. Smith is round and gone already, but Jones chases him in Aquatonic. That's his Mickey Todd upside down. Didn't even reach the windward mark, and now RS Racing has dropped it. That lets the good lads through into 4th place. Martin Jones still in 2nd place at the windward mark, and in goes the bow, and it's a pitch pole. That's Ian Warren, Little Rabbit, going straight down the hole. That's Martin Jones out of it. The pressure's off Smith as he comes into the jibe. So this should be straightforward for Smith. What am I saying? They got the Jenniker stuck on the windward side, laid the boat over on her side, and now, who does that let through into 1st place? None other than Dave Ovington in Slam, the local boy. Not so much taking the lead as given it, but what price dignity in conditions like these? Coming to the windward mark now in that critical turn. All 3 of the crew at the back end of the rack keep the bow out of the water. because as they turn away, that's exactly what happens. The bow digs in, the mainsail presses the bow down, the boat practically pitch poles. Now she stands on her stern. Tim Robinson will go through into second place. But this is Ian Southworth has picked up the outer distance mark, anchored his boat by the leeward rack, got the bow actually on board. Still manages to keep upright. But Tim Robinson is through now, into the lead. Again, the crew well back on the racks to keep that narrow bow out of the water, stop it digging into the waves. There's no buoyancy. Martin Goodlad now has powered through in Typhoon into second place. Upside down boats and recovering boats all around him. But Goodlad from Prestwick still upright, and back upright is Laurie Smith in Diamond, and that will get him back into third place. Coming down the shuttle now, down the run, Tim Robinson leading. Pete Allen in the middle of the boat, Bruce Grant the bowman out on the wire as well. Hurtling along, and Musto with Ian Southworth still attached to the outer distance mark as Laurie Smith goes past. And now we come through the gate as they come down. There's a gun and they're finishing them. Very sensible, I think. The committee have decided to finish the race now. It's just too much of a survival derby. So that's a win for Tim Robinson in Rockport. And if they can stay upright, and they can, the rookies from Prestwick, Martin Goodlad, they won't mind me saying that, it's their first season in skiffs, they get second, and what a day to be second. Laurie Smith, the champion, is third. And those were limit conditions for the skiffs.
While the leaders crossed the finish line, some of those behind were struggling to keep their boats and themselves in one piece. An increase in the wind against the strengthening ebb tide created a huge swell, and racing was abandoned for the day. Easter Properties found themselves perilously near to the harbour wall after crewman Mike Forster fell overboard. The only solution was to sacrifice the mast.
Mike fell off and he was dangerously close to the wall. The boat was drifting in, so he took the decision to capsize, turn her upside down so that the mast would hit the bottom rather than hitting the harbour wall, because by the time the mast hit the harbour wall, everything would have been on the harbour wall, and certainly putting the mast in the mud stopped us going in so quickly. So we saved our lives.
Easter Properties was towed to safety.
It's not very good if you suffer from vertigo, because it's a long way to fall. It's not a nice feeling. The name of the game is trying to jump off and miss the rigging, and also you mustn't hit the sails, because if you hit the sail, you go straight through, and that really is the end of the day's racing, not just that race.
Normally it would be death. If you capsize, that would be it, because it's quite a long haul to get it upright, and you're all in a mess, and you've got to get the thing sorted out.
With so much carnage around, though, Diamond fought back to finish third. Rockport's joy at winning was brought to a sudden halt. Middleman Pete Allen was injured in a nasty capsize on the way back and rushed to hospital with a broken rib.
But the problem with the skiff is there's nowhere to hide. A big gust came in. At the same time as the gust hit, we went down in front of a fairly large wave, which stopped the boat very quickly. And Bruce and I on the trapeze kept going. And my back hit the gunwale, the sharp edge, where the hull and the deck joined. I knew I'd probably cracked a rib. The worst part was getting from the rib onto the beach, because I couldn't stand and there was a lot of surf coming into the beach. And I sat on a chair and waited for an ambulance.
Allen was later told he'd be out of action for 6 weeks. Well, there's confirmation of the results from race 1. Rockport first, Laurie Smith back in third place, Aquatonic fourth. Come rain or shine, storms or flat calms, the job of bowman is the most physically demanding on a skiff.
a lot of shoulders. A lot of it is just getting on top of things. Never let the boat control you. You've always got to control the boat. What I do, I just control the front sails, essentially, which is the jib, which is a very simple sheet. And that just be pulled in to there, and then I'll run it up with me, up onto the trapeze, so I have control of the jib. And then when we go for the spinnaker, I'm the first one back into the boat as we bear off around the windward mark. Go for the bag, and then Pete and I will hoist the spinnaker, which comes out of the bag and goes straight up. It's like a set of dominoes. If the pieces don't all go in the right order, they don't fall down in the right order. And then things start to go wrong. And as soon as one thing comes wrong, then the whole lot go wrong. And you're in the drink.
And many have tasted the Tyne already after just one race. Will the crews survive 2 more days? Well, join us again after the break. Welcome back to Tynemouth and round 2 of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. The River Tyne has been home to shipbuilding for decades, and although in decline, the skipper of Slam is helping to keep the trade there alive. Dave Ovington builds all the skiffs in this country.
It's a bit of a shame that a lot of the other boat building and shipbuilding is disappearing, but it's a very good place to have a business for boat building. They're very good people to work with. We get a lot of support and a lot of help from the other companies around.
And do you enjoy it?
Oh, yes. I would never do anything else. Really, to sail the boats and build them, and build good ones, it's my life. I just wouldn't do anything else. I just love it.
Day 2. It's calm and there's fog on the Tyne.
It's meant to be a bit windier, but you know, how would you know? It's meant to get around to the north a bit more, but I think it's going to be.
With Rockport's Pete Allen injured, a replacement catches the first train to Tynemouth to take over.
These things happen. I was half expecting somebody on the circuit to kind of have an accident, and I was sort of around and available. So it's a good position to be in, especially getting on one of the best boats. So good news.
As crews prepare to go racing, there's relief all round that the crash and burn of the previous day won't be repeated. A look at the results then, and Mustoe won race 2, Hyde was second, Diamond third. Ian Southworth's domination continued in race 3, but Dave Ovington's Slam was second ahead of Diamond. Race 4 saw Mustoe achieve a hat-trick of wins, with Slam again the runners-up. But Ovington went one better in the final race of the day, Slam first, Typhoon second. So after 5 races, Mustoe heads the fleet from Typhoon, Diamond and Slam. On the final day, the wind was back with a vengeance. 3 races to go and all to play for.
Laurie will go quite well, Dave Ovington will go well. I think Ian might struggle a bit more because he's lighter.
It's a bit more open this time, so it should be very interesting.
It's too gusty. It's too easy to go swimming.
Conditions are somewhat, I think, entertaining just getting off the shore today. I think once we get out there, it'll be all right.
Yes, the strong, shifty conditions made launching the skiffs a supreme test of skill in itself. As Laurie Smith indeed predicted, it would be a day for going swimming. So the Diamond boys come good at last, winning race 6 ahead of Rockport and Aquatonic, and taking race 7 with Slam second and Mustoe third. Let's join Malcolm McCaig now for the final deciding race.
8th race of this accumulator series. 2 boats are out in front in the points table. Laurie Smith in Diamond has 78 points. Ian Southworth in Mustoe has 77 points. 16 points for a win, 14 for second. So 2 points per place. Whoever wins between these two will take the series. Laurie Smith gets well away from the start line, over to the right of the course, comes across and is in the lead at the first windward mark. Beautifully done. The power on. Southworth is in third, but goes through Dave Ovington to get into second place. Ovington struggling as he tacks, trying to keep his boat under control. Martin Jones goes past, and Ovington reverses into a capsize. I've never seen that done before in a skiff. But this is Southworth now, has got himself into second place, chasing hard behind Laurie Smith, and is he going to drop it? No, a good recovery. Simon Nairn and Rob Drumgold get him out of trouble. Martin Goodlad in trouble in Typhoon. He's racing for 3rd and 4th place overall with Ovington. Tim Robinson in Rockport, however, is in 4th place on the racecourse. At the windward mark, these gusty conditions giving a lot of trouble as predicted. Laurie Smith powering now down the run through the gate, still leading. Martin Jones in Aquatonic is into 3rd place behind Ian Southworth. Here comes Southworth up and through the gate. That's the difference between Southworth and Smith, the 2 series leaders. Smith at the bottom mark. Oh, and that's a bad turn. He stopped the boat dead. Came in with too much speed, turned the boat too quickly. She's gone flat in the water. Now, this is a chance for Southworth to catch him and get through. Smith goes round the mark. That's Southworth's bowsprit comes through. He's through the gap. Southworth is going to take him. Good sailing by Ian Southworth, but Martin Jones is just about to lose 3rd place in Aquatonic. Stuck the bow in with the spinnaker still up. That's a chance for Robinson with a black sail in Rockport to get through into 3rd place. Now Ian Southworth is out in front. going hard. Pushes the weather rack into the water. The problem with these gusty conditions is that when the wind is blowing hard and full on in the sails, the lads have to be right out on the end of the rack with full power. But as soon as the breeze drops at all, the boat rolls over on top of them, as it has just done. Smith has exactly the same trouble, trailing the windward rack through the water as he goes out towards the left-hand side of the course, looking for a better angle to get him up to the windward mark. Ian Southworth now round the windward mark. Is he going to drop it? He's stuffed the rack in again, but manages a good recovery, and that's Dave Ovington is back on his feet, but he's a complete lap behind the leaders as Ian Southworth bears away to go down the second of the power reaches. Laurie Smith going behind him. Now they've the jibe mark, then the leeward mark, then another beat to do, and Ian Southworth must stay in front of Laurie Smith. Smith himself having a bit of traffic trouble with Ovington. Ovington to windward. Southworth only too pleased to see one boat between him and Laurie Smith, even if that boat doesn't count in the rankings. A lap behind, but it'll still block Smith in getting to him. He's got to get up this beat, down the run again. Here comes Smith. A much better leeward mark rounding this time. The power fully on. Zeb Elliott still in the middle of the boat, now going out on the rack. Neil MacDonald already out there. The breeze picking up. Tim Robinson coming down in third place in Rockport. Ian Southworth at the windward mark. The boat on the limit of balance. This is the trickiest manoeuvre as they try to bear away to come back downwind. Southworth does it pretty well, close to perfectly. Sets the kite. Keeping the boat upright. Only one more run to do and then the final beat. Still in front of Laurie Smith. Still with the series in his grasp, but not yet won. Smith goes through Ovington. Now there's nobody between Smith and Southworth. But Southworth holds on. This is the final beat, coming up to cross the finish line. Takes the race and the series. And none too dismayed about it.
Yes, Mustow's win over Diamond was just enough to earn them the overall victory. Rockport third, Typhoon fourth.
Best feeling in the world. Absolutely fantastic. When we crossed the line, it was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Very hard work. Everyone's absolutely shattered. But very good. Very good. I think we're quite pleased.
We just made a mess of a leeward mark around when he got past us. And we thought he'd make a mistake, so we kept on his tail, but he never made a mistake and won the race and the regatta.
But by the narrowest of margins, just 1 point separating Mustow and Diamond after every team had been allowed to drop their worst result.
So Ian Southworth and Mustow have burst the bubble of invincibility surrounding Laurie Smith on Diamond. The next regatta promises to be very different from the conditions experienced here. It's on Queen Mother Reservoir near London. But for now, from the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix, goodbye. Welcome to the third regatta in the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. We've left the coast and travelled inland to Datchet Water Sailing Club on Queen Mother Reservoir. Not your usual nautical setting. Windsor Castle stands proud in the distance, and sailors here often have trouble making themselves heard above the din of jumbo jets flying to and from Heathrow Airport. But not surprisingly, it's a popular venue for small boat enthusiasts who live in the capital.
First, the story so far. Round 1 was held in Torquay and turned out to be a straight fight between Rockport, skippered by Tim Robinson, and Diamond, with top British yachtsman Laurie Smith at the helm. After 8 races in variable weather, Smith, the king of Diamond, came up trumps, winning 6. A cold north wind and cruel sea made round 2 in Tynemouth a frightening proposition. Survival, the name of the game. All the skiffs experienced highs and lows in testing conditions which eventually moderated. Ian Southworth and Mustoe just edged out Smith and the Diamond boys to overall victory. So to round 3 here in Datchet. The regular 10 boats line up, but a familiar face is missing. Laurie Smith has commitments elsewhere and Mustoe are ready to take advantage.
Well, there's one good little chance. Laurie's not here today and for this weekend, but he's got a hired gun. So we'll just have to see how the hired gun does.
I'm sure by the end of the weekend we'll be reasonably good. It's what we'll be like early on. The learning curve will be interesting to see.
To the third race now, your commentator is Malcolm McKay.
Race 3 of an 8-race series, and a great start from Mickey Todd at the far end of the line in Easter with a pink hammer on his sail. Oh, too great a start. A second hooter goes, signalling he's recalled. He was over the line before the signal. That's Mike Bees in base 1 now. Mickey has got a tack, get back down through the fleet with that great winkle picker bowsprit. Must wend his way back down and recross the line and start again while the rest of the fleet blast off to the right and up towards the windward mark. And that's Ian Southworth in Mustoe. A very late start indeed. Southworth now coming over to the right-hand side of the course, looking for clear air on this very patchy, shifty stretch of water. As they go up now towards the windward mark, turn there and then power reach out to the jibe mark. They turn jibe there and then a second power reach down to the leeward mark. Doesn't matter if they hit the mark on this course. A beat up through the gate again, back towards the windward mark. Once round there, it's dead run down to the leeward mark again, coming down through the start and finish gate. Round the leeward mark, back through the gate. They do that as many times as it takes to race for half an hour. Windward mark, first time around. Russell Peters in Diamond now is in the lead. Tim Robinson in Rockport comes in, puts in attack to lay in towards the mark. But in fact, he's already got Dave Ovington in Slam in front of him. Ian Southworth in Mustoe coming in, but is he going to make the mark? No, he's underlaying the mark. He won't get round the mark. He'll have to put in another tack. Martin Jones gets across on port tack. It's really crowded in these mark roundings on this small, tiny course, on this very difficult reservoir. Clive Everest in RS Racing with the red stripe has got through into third. Tim Robinson in Rockport, just setting the black spinnaker now, is in fourth. And there is Southworth in Mustoe with the yellow writing on the boom. That mistake coming into the windward mark has cost him 4, 5, maybe 6th places. He's down into 7th, maybe even 8th place as they power down towards the jibe mark. And at the jibe mark, Dave Ovington in slam is inside Russell Peters as they turn together. But Ovington now has the advantage. He's to windward. That white sail will blanket Peters. Ovington may well get through. Here's Southworth blasting off towards the left, looking again for clear air. He's got a lot of space to try and make up. Reaching down now past Windsor Castle. Ovington is in front, and he has slowed down Russell Peters so much by getting inside him that has let Martin Jones in Aquatonic through into second place. On this tiny course, one mistake can cost a lot of room, and that mistake at the jibe mark by Russell Peters first time around has cost him dearly. He's still in third place, a whole lap later as Martin Jones in second chases Dave Ovington, the builder of these 18-foot skiffs. And both these crews maxed right out on the trapezes on the end of the racks. Middleman and Martin Jones boat even has his arms above his head to maximise the power. Russell Peters wearing the helmet-mounted camera in third place. And Ian Southworth over-maximised the power on the turn, has dropped Musto into the water. The pressure really on Ovington now as Martin Jones powers through. Ovington's crew taking the spinnaker down, just trail the leeward rack in the water. It's like putting the brakes on. Stop the boat's edge as they come into the leeward mark. A chance too now for Russell Peters to turn the tables on Ovington. Zeb Elliott still out on the rack, but Andy the middleman going in, having a bit of difficulty getting the spinnaker down. This is what it looks like from Russell Peters' angle. Martin Jones in front, but Dave Ovington has climbed up to windward and has got back in front of Jones again. So the early takedown paid for Ovington. Was able to accelerate well away from the mark, take over the race lead again as Martin Jones dives off to the left of the course to try and recover. The rest of the fleet follow round in a big, big pack. Clive Everest in RS Racing. And Ovington really has everyone now tucked well away to leeward. That's Everest in third. Jones is down there somewhere, but where is Russell Peters? Ovington coming up through the gate to start the next lap. Nothing in it though for second place. Russell Peters nearest the camera. Tacking now for the windward mark. Who's going to get there first? Robinson's in front, but both these boats must be careful. They mustn't tack across Russell Peters. Martin Jones makes it, but only just. Now Peters himself goes into attack. But oh, he's fluffed it. He's fluffed it. He hasn't completed the tack. Now he's in trouble. He must keep clear of Tim Robinson. It's Robinson has the right of way. Was there a little touch there? Could have been. A lap later, and Martin Jones has got past Dave Ovington in slam. Martin Jones in Aquatonic, tacking round the windward mark. Dave Ovington coming in second place. Robinson in third. Peters is clinging on to fourth. Ian Southworth in Musto is well down to leeward. There could still be several boats get between him and Robinson. Tacking now with Russell Peters for the mark. Tim Robinson up to windward. He'll be coming down, setting his spinnaker. Zeb Elliott and middleman Andy will be in to set the spinnaker also on Peters' boat. Jones, a good set. Slam, a little slow. Rockport, nicely away with that big black kite. And that's how it stays until the finish. No one can get past Martin Jones. They cross the line. Clear winners.
Here then are the results from the first day. The winner of race 1 was Musto from Aquatonic, a tough debut for Diamond's new helm. But Russell Peters made up for the disappointment in race 2, beating Southworth and Jones to that #1 spot. Aquatonic proved to be the most consistent performer, winning race 3 to end the day on a high. Unlike Musto. And skipper Southworth is not a happy man.
We fell in twice today. We just got a bit discoordinated. The wind's moving all over the place, holes in the breeze, and it's just, we were unlucky and we just chucked it in. And then we were chasing around the rest of the fleet, trying like crazy to get back, got quite back right into it. And then we just got caught out taking the spinnaker down on the last drop with a gust from nowhere that just spanned us straight in. So, a bit of a nightmare, the last one.
Russell Peters, wearing the TV headcam, had himself been the focus of attention as Laurie Smith's replacement. So how did he find his skiff baptism?
It was very difficult, actually, because the wind was all over the shop. But we were slightly clever about that direction and a few of them. but that was the only way that we happened to hold in there. We're going to have to get a lot better for tomorrow.
What's Laurie going to think?
Well, we haven't broken anything yet. We've only had one crash, so no, can't be trying too hard yet.
Nevertheless, after 3 races, Diamond are comfortably placed second behind Aquatonic, Musto third. Ian Southworth, like many skiff sailors, works in the marine industry.
You there?
He's been running this sail loft in Hampshire for 11 years. The Musto helmsman is a former dinghy world champion and believes his expertise in sails will help his team sew up the title of Skiff Grand Prix champions. Indeed, the winners of the Tynemouth regatta are in with a good chance of adding Datchet to their victory roll. There are still 5 more races to go. Welcome back to Datchet and round 3 of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. Rockport's middleman is Pete Allen, back on the rack after 2 months out with a broken rib. He talks us through his role.
My job's basically upwind. I look after the main sheet, which is the engine of the boat. And I've got to keep the boat as level as possible with this. I bring it in or out. And downwind, everything completely changes. I go into the boat and put my weight wherever necessary and call the jibing angles as we go downwind with the kite up. I actually think I've got probably the easiest job because apart from when we're actually going to windward, I think the helmsman's got quite a bit on most of the time. And I do take a lot of pity on the guy at the front at the leeward mark when he's got to get that spinnaker in very quickly.
Day 2 and everyone's gunning for Martin Jones. Consistency was his byword on the opening day.
Well, consistency is great, yes. If I was absolutely honest, I'd say there was a fairly high proportion of luck in it. The wind swinging around and gusts coming in from all angles, it was much more about actually just catching the right wind at the right time. It's very much a matter of actually watching for the wind on the water. You know, you'll see smooth patches, no wind, and you'll see ruffle patches, which obviously is a bit of breeze, and then you see dark patches, and those are the ones you really want to go for, because you've got the greatest amount of wind strength in the dark patches.
To recap then, race 4 was won by Aquatonic with Hyde second and Musto third. Dave Ovington's Slam took race 5, Musto and Hyde again finished in the top 3. Typhoon swept to victory in the last race of the day, Slam dropped down to second, Rockport third. So after 6 races, just 1 point separates Aquatonic and Musto at the top, Slam hot on their heels. Bevis Castle in Rutland. Could this be the grand ancestral home of one of skiff racing's finest? There are rumours that Rockport have royal blood aboard.
Ah, Tim Robinson. Well, he's known as the Earl because he owns most of the whole county of Rutland.
Well, it's rumoured he does own most of the countryside around that area.
You see, Tim's crew set him up. They were heading down under to compete and spun their Aussie friends a real yarn.
I mentioned to one of them, don't know why I did it, but I just said, by the way, Tim's actually blue blood. He's an Earl. Don't tell anyone. He doesn't like people knowing about this, so just keep it quiet. Anyway, we fly out to Australia 3 weeks later, and by the time we get there, everybody knows that he is blue blood and he's the Earl, the royal dude. So we got red carpet treatment everywhere.
He's got a certain air about him, you know, he's a bit posh, and the rumour went round that he's the Earl of Rutland because his family's from up that way, so yeah, he's got blue blood as far as we're concerned.
What's your nickname? Tell me your nickname.
I don't have one.
You do? Why do people call you the Earl?
Oh no, it's an Australian story. Bruce would be a better man to tell the story than I.
Do you like being called the Earl?
Sometimes.
Are you an Earl?
In Australia, it's fine. No, of course not.
But the Rutland rumour rolls on. So, with 2 races to go on the final day, it's all to sail for.
An aristocratic enough start, though, for Tim Robinson in Rockport. At the leeward end of the line, Mike Bees below him in base 1. Martin Jones, the series leader, in the middle of the line. Dave Ovington in Slam just behind him. Dave Hall in Hyde. We're on board with Ian Southworth wearing the head cam in this race, sailing Musto. Coming in on starboard tack, Robinson trying to get across on port, and he's not going to make it. We had the right of way. He will have to do the penalty turn. The windward mark. Russell Peters is in front in Diamond. Southworth coming in. Shaky port tack, but gets away with it. Tacks round the mark. Cuts neatly in, and he's in 2nd place. Chasing hard behind Russell Peters. Going a lot faster. Going to go up through him. Trying to go through to leeward. Got to get past that big wind shadow. Decided he's not going to do it. Get the spinnaker down. Try and turn early. Oh, he's going to drop it. And a very good recovery, but still in trouble as they come into the mark. Go the other side of it, Ian. Go the other side of it. All right, Ian, hit the mark. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to do that in the rules. Russell Peters still in front. Mike Bees in base 1 tacks to come across on port. He'll have to go behind him, and he'll have to go behind Ian Southworth in Musto, who's got a very good angle on Peters. So good an angle, in fact, he's leading as he comes into the windward mark. Bear away. Down the power reach. Mike Bees in 2nd place, and Mike Bees burying the bow. Gets it back up again. Difficulty with the skiffs. The bow's so narrow that big mainsail can drive it in unless you let the power off as you go round the mark. The rest of the fleet following in a big pack. It does get so crowded on this reservoir. But staying out in front of the crowd, Ian Southworth wins. Wearing the head cam, the first skipper wearing a head cam to win a race for us. But that 5th place for Aquatonic puts Southworth into the series lead. Now we come in for the final and deciding race. Crowding up, waiting now for the starting signal and the flags to come down. Ian Southworth at the far end of the line is the first to break away with base 1 close to him. Martin Jones in Aquatonic must beat Southworth to take this series. On board Hyde sails with Dave Hall. Andy Harrop in the middle of the boat. Paul Constable, his bowman. The whole fleet now going over to the left, with the exception of Jones cutting across on port tack. Shaves across in front of Mickey Todd in Easter. But judges it nicely. Going out now to find clear air and see if he can get a bit of wind shift on the right-hand side of the course. Being followed by RS Racing. Martin Goodlad, the next to break in, Typhoon. Martin with his brother Roy on the bow. Andy Budgeon in the middle of the boat. This is Martin Jones out on the right of the course, coming up towards the windward mark. Looks round to see if he's got room to tack. He has. They decide to go for it. Very, very gusty under the reservoir wall. Neatly run, safely round, coming in towards the mark on starboard tack. He's going to be in the lead. He's going to cross everyone. Such an advantage to get across the whole fleet coming into this windward mark. Give yourself a clear run down the power reach, the crew into the middle of the boat. Ian Warren, called Bunny for obvious reasons, goes for the halyard to set the kite. The rest of them come across. Dave Hall in Hyde is 2nd. Typhoon is 3rd. Martin Jones, absolutely on the limit. The boat really smoking along, almost overpowered by that big black gust as they come down towards the jibe mark. The rest of the bunch coming down, that squall coming down towards them could cause a bit of trouble. Racing in the middle, Dave Ovington out to one side, Typhoon having trouble with her spinnaker. Peters is nicely set up. And there is Southworth going across in about 5th place in Musto. Oh, and Tim Robinson in a lot of trouble, rolling the boat into windward. He Chinese jibes, he's going to capsize, can't recover from that. The Earl rolls the boat in and not at all pleased about it. Now they have to get that big black kite off the boat before they can do anything about getting her back on her feet and rejoining the race. It's going to take a long time. Look at the spray smoking off it in the breeze. And at the leeward mark, Martin Goodlad in Typhoon has got through Dave Hall and is into second place. Jones is round and long gone. Clive Everest in RS Racing doing a very short jibe. He hasn't left himself a lot of room to jibe back for that mark, but he is on the inside. Russell Peters in Diamond is forced out. Hall has a whole big bunch of boats now between him and the mark. He must give all the boats inside him room as they come into the mark, getting the spinnaker down. Russell Peters goes round. Dave Ovington is next in Slam. Dave Hall in Hyde has dropped 5 places as the Earl regains his seat in Rockport. Gets the boat back on her feet. Rutland Water was never like this. Sets off after the others, unfortunately, going the wrong direction. But the man who's really piling through the fleet is Ian Southworth in Musto. Well, right at the front of the fleet, a ding-dong battle royal between Goodlad in Typhoon and Jones in Aquatonic. Approaching the gate on the downwind leg now. This is the battle for 3rd place. Ian Southworth in the red boat in the middle. Russell Peters comes across in Diamond, jibes right in front of him to block him coming through the gate. Hold him back. Southworth, of course, needs to get past these boats so that he can get at Martin Jones. Through the gate for the final time, and the hooter goes for Martin Goodlad in Typhoon. A downwind finish. Martin Jones comes second. There's the white flag with the blue centre that signals that the race has been shortened, giving them a downwind finish instead of the usual finish on a beat. Now, where is Southworth? This is Peters coming in to finish 3rd. The real question is, how many boats between Martin Jones in 2nd place and Ian Southworth? Where will he finish? This is Peters looking round to see if he can see his rivals. Here comes Southworth, coming down and going to take 4th place. Will that be enough when they start to count up the arithmetic? Southworth went into this 8th race with a narrow points lead over Martin Jones. Has he been able to do enough to keep that points lead and hold the series?
A win then for Typhoon from Aquatonic, but the glory indeed goes to Southworth, despite finishing 4th and in some disarray.
Wind shifted and we were caught with our shoot-up coming down to the line. We couldn't lay the finish. And we rapidly packed the kite and had all sorts of traumas going across the finishing line. The thought of going over the finishing line was great. We've gone over upright as opposed to on its side. And then it transpired, then we thought, OK, I think we've won. So it wasn't like a yee-haw finish.
We went into this morning leading, and we knew we had Musto to beat. We had a bit of a disaster in the first race, came good in the second race, so I suppose we've got to be reasonably content with 2nd place, yes.
We just lost touch a little bit every now and again, but I'm certainly not disappointed.
Confirmation there of Musto's overall victory. 3 points the difference at the top after teams were allowed to discard their worst race result. So with just 1 round to go in Torquay, the scene is set for a showdown between Ian Southworth and the crew of Musto and Laurie Smith, who will return to skipper Diamond Sails. Yes, the final regatta promises to be a real cracker, so don't miss it. But from Datchet Water Sailing Club, it's bye for now.
Hello and welcome to the fourth and final round of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. For this decider, we've returned to where it all got underway, to Torquay on the English Riviera. Since that first regatta, two teams have established themselves as favourites to win the overall prize. Muster with Ian Southworth at the helm, and Diamond with Neil MacDonald replacing the absent Laurie Smith.
The first round in Torquay saw Laurie Smith with MacDonald as middleman lay down the challenge to the more experienced skiff sailors, some in their third year. Diamond dominated the event, winning 6 out of 8 races. Round 2 in Tynemouth was at times a fight for survival. In extreme and variable weather conditions, Ian Southworth and Musto pipped Smith and Diamond to first place. On to Datchet Water for round 3, with Russell Peters deputising for Smith at the helm of Diamond. He did well, but not well enough. The regatta and champagne again went to Southworth. So after 3 rounds, Musto lead Diamond by 1 point. Slam and Aquatonic a joint third some way behind, but with a maximum 16 points at stake, they're in with a shout for the overall title. Everything then hinges on Torquay. The leading 2 teams can't afford a bad slip-up.
It's going to be a good finale, I think. So game is on. It's pretty shifty out there. The wind's sort of a bit up and down. So it's going to make the game a little bit topsy-turvy now and again.
I'm looking forward to it, yeah. I feel sorry for the guys who've got to suffer me while I'm learning, but I think we're going to be in for a good fun weekend, yeah.
How much helming have you done?
A long time ago, I did a bit of dinghy sailing, yeah, and I do a bit of steering on the keel boats, but not very much.
Torquay maybe not my favourite for some reason. I don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out.
For the finale to the first day, let's join our race commentator, Malcolm McKay.
The ever-growing British 18-foot skiff circuit continuing to pull in recruits from the country's top dinghy sailors. 13 boats lining up for the start. This is the course they're racing, beating upwind to the windward mark, power reaching down to the jibe mark where they turn, then down to the leeward mark, take off those big asymmetrical spinnakers, zigzag back up through the gate, back up to the windward mark again, set close in under the harbour wall of Torquay, then straight downwind to the leeward mark, round that back up through the finishing gate, and they go on like that until they've raced for half an hour. Now we're on board with Dave Ovington coming in from the start. We're on starboard tack. We have the wind coming over our right-hand side. That means the boats coming across with the wind the other way have to keep out of our way, give us room. Big advantage as you come into the start. Ovington very nicely placed. That's the starting gun. We're off. Ovington nearest the camera, able to dictate tactics from here. Martin Goodlad from Prestwick in Typhoon in the middle of the line. Kevin Anderson, Ovington's bowman, just getting himself sorted out as they come away from the line. But now Tim Robinson in Rockport going out to try the right-hand side. This is the choice immediately after the start. Which side will pay? And you can see the darkened patches on the water that are the gusts, and you can see the hotels of Torquay that are causing the problem. The wind is blowing off the land. It eddies round those great big hotels. Comes in all sorts of strength and directions, but a very neat attack from Robinson and his team. Beautifully poised. Now this is Neil MacDonald, who's been over at the left, coming back in. He's going to have to tack now. Let's see how Neil manages it. Sailing his first skiff race. Balances everything and balances nothing here. They've trailed the rack in the water, stopped the boat dead, managed to keep it on its feet, but you can see how flustered they become. Meanwhile, Robinson, beautifully poised, with the whole fleet out below him. Now again on starboard tack, the other boats must give him way. That's Mike Bees in base 1, comes across under his stern. MacDonald has got himself up and going again. Coming in, trying another tack. Better this time. Better, lads. Steep learning curve, but even so, they still managed to stop the boat dead, didn't accelerate neatly out of the tack. They'll have lost a lot of space on their competitors. Robinson still coming across with the right-of-way starboard tack. Dave Hall in high sails goes underneath him. He's clocked off 2, 3, 4 places. Dave Ovington now putting in attack on top of Ian Southworth in Musto, blocking his route to the mark, which is up to our left as we come out of the tack, and Southworth is down to our right. Nicely placed. Oh, Southworth coming up round our bow now. Better angle, but here's the mark. And this is Southworth leading Ovington into the mark. Robinson's out to the left of the picture, but it's a good angle coming in on port tack towards the mark. Southworth is going to lead, and Ovington is going to be second. That's Robinson, you can see in the background, coming in hard on starboard for the mark, but these two get round in front of him. Slow tack from Ovington. Now, setting off down the power reach with Dave Ovington, Kevin Anderson, getting the asymmetric set as Tim Robinson comes in to the mark and tacks in third place. Martin Jones behind. A whole bunch now coming into the mark, following hard. Dave Hall in Hyde finds fourth. Martin Jones will be fifth. But that's Adrian Stead coming in very fast above Typhoon. Adrian Stead sailing noble in his first skiff race, British Olympic team member. Latest recruit to this growing class. RS Racing having difficulty making the buoy. Now, it doesn't matter if she hits it in this racing. Neil MacDonald now tacking. Wallowing again through attack, almost at the back of the fleet in Diamond. Don't forget, they have to beat Musto to take this series. Now they set off down the power reach. Power reach, bit of an overstatement perhaps in these light conditions in Torquay, but still the big asymmetrics pulling them on. Southworth at the leeward mark, still with a handy lead, neatly round. Now Kevin Anderson for Ovington, his bowman, pulling down the asymmetric, putting away as we come in to round the leeward mark, and that's the lead that Southworth has over us. Now will Ovington tack, go up and try the left-hand side of the beat, or will he follow Southworth? And here comes Stead. He's made up very well, flinging noble round, tight turn round the mark. Grabs himself 2, 3 places over Mickey Bees in base one, but this is Southworth. Still nicely out in the lead. And you can see how gusty, how tricky these conditions are. The crew's balancing the power of the wind in the big sail, moving in and out on the racks. Coming in with Ovington. Crossing astern now of the boat that's past us. Southworth tacking to cover us now. The windward mark right up under the harbour wall at Torquay, and that adds its own difficulties because there's very little breeze in there. You can see the flat patches on the water where there's no wind, the dark patches where there is breeze. Southworth getting the boat accelerated up again. But he has the right of way over Ovington. Ovington turns in front of him. Is Ovington going to get inside him at the mark? He may well do it. He'll have the turn at the mark. Southworth is having to go high to get round him. But he's not going to be able to. Ovington is at the mark. There's only the run and the final short beat to the finish, and Ovington takes the lead as they set off down the run. Southworth chasing, and that's the way it stays until the finish. Ovington beats Ian Southworth.
To recap on the first day, Ovington Slam took race 1, Musto second, Rockport third. Race 2 saw Southworth clinch top spot from Diamond, Rockport again third. And in race 3, Slam celebrated their second win of the day, Musto as consistent as ever in second place. Good start then for the Hampshire team, but the day's racing hadn't passed without incident.
Start of the last race, we were very close to the leeward end of the mark, and I had to dive down and push the buoy away. We were allowed to touch the buoys in this event, so I managed to get that away and then dived up to the deck and managed to do a head plant into the wing, so saw a few stars for a little while.
We had a bit of problems. The helmsman got the head cam equipment jammed, and which meant that he got stuck in the middle of the boat. He then couldn't steer the boat properly, and there's another boat coming down with the spinnaker up, so they've not got a lot of control either. And the turbos passed very close, and one of the ropes from the other boat lassoed me and dragged me straight off the boat.
What did you think when you were there in the water?
My main thought was I must get this off and round my leg or I'm going to drown. But it was okay.
So, after 3 races, confirmation here of Musto's lead at the top, Diamond 11 points adrift in third place. Adrian Stead, the helmsman on Noble Insurance, is a newcomer to skiff racing. Torquay his first regatta. Stead is better known as an Olympic dinghy sailor, a veteran of the 1992 Games and and selected to compete in the sailing class at the forthcoming Olympics in Atlanta.
We're having a bit of a time off, or time out from sailing. This, I think, is a very compatible project. There's some good people to sail against in this class, and I've got a good team to sail with. Got a lot of work to do still. Our speed isn't exactly brilliant. We're using people's old sails. But yeah, it's fine. Plenty of potential. It's very tricky out there today. Very, very shifty, gusts and lulls, and they seem to make a huge difference to the performance of the boats. You could be going twice the speed, depending on whether you're in the wind or not. So it's good. No, the racing is good. I can see we're going to have a lot of fun here.
Join us again in Torquay after the break for the climax to the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. Welcome back to the final round of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix. With Musto and Slam going well, Diamond have it all to do if they're going to win without their skipper-owner, Laurie Smith.
I've still got the L plates on. I've done plenty of sailing in skiffs and other roles in the boat, and I'm fairly confident with that. But when you go and change positions, it just takes a while to learn. And Laurie's run away and left us. Left us in the lurch.
Another tricky day. Sun's out, but weather's the wind's a bit fickle. So I think it could be a bit of up and downer.
Nicely nervous again, just like yesterday. No, I think we've got speed, we're fine.
Let's look at the results then from the second day, and race 4 was won by Rockport with Aquatonic second, Musto nowhere. The next race saw Ovington Slam recapture the form of the previous day. Martin Jones' boat was runner-up. By race 6, Slam was really in the groove. Another first for Dave Ovington, Easter Properties second. So after 6 races, Slam have built up a convincing lead with third place Musto 10 points ahead of Diamond in the battle for the overall title. That's 4 wins out of 6 for Dave Ovington's team. They, above all others, have mastered the course and conditions.
It's quite hard out there with wind coming off the land and the course being set underneath the cliffs. But I think the secret is just trying to keep cool and keep the boat moving steadily through the water. You know, in an approximate direction of the windward mark on the beats and the leeward mark on the runs. Because some of the wind shifts when the gusts come are 40 degrees possibly.
Nice company out on the water today. The dolphins.
The dolphins, weren't they incredible? I'm not sure if they're around most of the boats, but they came around our boat quite a few times. Really, really close. Both a dolphin either side. So just beautiful to see. Difficult to concentrate on the race when that's happening.
So it's down to the wire to the final day. Ian Southworth and Musto are by no means guaranteed of taking the title, and there's still the prize of who wins Torquay at stake.
Race 7 of this 8-race regatta, and there looks to be more pressure in the breeze now as they come in past the Blue Gate boat. There's the start cannon, the puff of smoke from the cannon as they go off. A great start from Dave Ovington in Slam. Clive Everest in RS racing well placed. Mickey Bees in base 1, and Neil MacDonald in Diamond nicely placed as well at the windward end of the line. No sign of Ian Southworth in Musto. Still holds in the air though. Dave Ovington trails the windward rack in Slam as they go away, but it doesn't seem to have slowed him very much. Tim Robinson down below him in Rockport. Look at that gap already, and they've only just come out of the starting gate. Here's Southworth tacking now in Musto. Both crew out onto the rack on the end of their trapezes. Southworth already out there, accelerating the boat out of the tack. But Ovington has a wonderful lead as they come in towards the windward mark. He really has mastered the conditions here at Torquay. 4 wins already. What am I saying? He's going to drop it into windward at the mark. No, a good recovery. Well recovered. Now Southworth, right down in speed, pushing for second place at the mark, but he's coming in on port tack without any rights. He's having to tack again. Tim Robinson in Rockport forces him around with no speed on, very close. I don't think Southworth can get away with that, surely. He was too close between Typhoon and Rockport. Typhoon right on the mark. But Southworth, a very risky manoeuvre. And there's the umpire boat coming in with the yellow flag to show him, yes, the umpires didn't like it either. Southworth now will have to do a 360-degree turn before he starts racing again as the others come round the mark, set their kites to set off. Musto in the top of your picture doing his penalty turn. Coming in on port tack like that, he had no rights over the boats coming in from the right and is rightly penalised. Neil MacDonald right at the back of the fleet. Now he's going to... Oh, Tim Robinson upside down. Not much pressure in the breeze, but it's these gaps in the breeze that keep causing the problem. As soon as the pressure is off, they drop it over. Ovington, meanwhile, having no trouble at all as he hardens up round the leeward mark. Look how far the fleet is behind him. This is the race for second place. Neil MacDonald pushing hard in second. Martin Jones coming in. Clive Everest in RS Racing, closest to the boy as they round up. Now they set off after Dave Ovington in Slam. A lap later, and Adrian Stead is in trouble. Again, it's the holes in the breeze that are causing the difficulty. The crew right out on the rack, the wind switches off, and the boat rolls into windward. Coming down the final reach now, Ian Southworth still has a bunch of boats between him and the race leader, Dave Ovington in Slam, coming across the finish line to make this his 5th victory in this regatta at Torquay. A great performance. Don't look very pleased about it. Second will be Neil MacDonald in Diamond. And third, Dave Hall in Hyde.
Slam's victory means they're certain to win the regatta. But in the battle for the series, Diamond's advantage over Musto could be crucial. With the last race to come, Musto in third are 4 points ahead of 5th place Diamond. Remember, if MacDonald finishes the regatta ahead of Southworth, Diamond win the overall title.
The 8th and final race of the Torquay Regatta and the final race of the 1995 British 18-foot skiff circuit. Off they go. Tim Robinson, well buried in Rockport. Ian Southworth, who must do well underneath all the fleet as he goes off. A really bad start from Southworth and a great start from Neil MacDonald in Diamond, nearest the camera, just above Mickey B's in base 1 as they go hacking off to the left-hand side of the course. Dave Ovington, not quite so well placed this time. Now, Dave Hall on starboard has been forced about by, I think that's Martin Jones it is. Dave Hall had right away his boats parked, almost stopped in the water. And there's an umpire boat right behind it coming in. Martin Jones won't get away with that. He has to do his 360 penalty turn before he can continue racing. Coming up now towards the windward mark. Robinson in Rockport is first, but Neil MacDonald in Diamond is second as they both tack to lay the mark. Good racing from MacDonald. Don't forget that he has to beat Ian Southworth in Musto to take the overall series. Dave Ovington in Slam has already won this regatta. Tim Rockport looks as if he could be second. We're looking now for Ian Southworth in Musto. Where is he? As a big bunch of boats come in towards the windward mark. This is Clive Everest in RS Racing coming across. But where, oh, where is Southworth? Where, oh, where is Musto? Even Mickey Todd in the pink hammer is up there in front of him. No harm to Mickey, but there is Southworth coming in on port tack again. All these starboard tackers. He's not doing well. He's being put about. He's being put about by Dave Hall in Hyde. And of course he was already down in speed. Now he's almost stopped at the mark. Hall going over the top of him. Southworth is having to tack yet again. That means that yet more boats will go round that long bowsprit before he can make it round the windward mark. Not good news for Ian. Big gap between him and Neil MacDonald. Southworth round the mark in about 10th place as Tim Robinson in Rockport powers off down the reach towards the jibe mark. Beautifully poised. Once they get the skiffs up and running, of course, they do get some drive out of them. But Musto, with Ian Southworth having an unhappy race, jibes away to try and find some more breeze. Oh, and that's not a good jibe. The boat has stopped again. Nothing going right for him today. Everything in his favour's against him. Looking round, where is that breeze, he's saying to himself. Please, wind, get me out of this. Leeward Mark and Tim Robinson has all the breeze he needs in Rockport as he hardens up. Setting off up the beat with a very handy lead over Neil MacDonald in Diamond in second place. Dave Ovington coming through in third. Now, Ovington is sailing so well, he could well take MacDonald on this neck beat, but that's Mickey Bees in base one. Mickey Todd with the big pink hammer on his sail. Up to the windward mark. Tim Robinson still in the lead, but MacDonald wallowing a bit as he comes in from the right, and that's Ovington over to the left of our picture in slam. He could get MacDonald. Robinson making no mistakes as he goes around the mark. And Mickey Bees coming in from nowhere almost in base one with a heap of speed on, flying right past Rockport. Tim Robinson slows right down as he sets the kite. Mickey Bees, oh, and there, kite's got a knot in it. No, it's out. Rockport jibes away to try and find himself clear air. Keep on driving. MacDonald coming in round the mark. He hits the mark. Don't forget, that doesn't matter in this type of yacht racing. And Dave Ovington didn't get past him. There he goes around now behind him. As they jibe round the mark, head off now down towards the leeward mark again. And oh, suddenly the breeze has just shut off. Up goes Ovington's kite, almost no air to fill it at all. MacDonald finds something, starts to pull ahead, but Tim Robinson in Rockport has caught the breeze again, his skiff accelerating fast. Ovington still having trouble, and Ian Southworth in even more trouble. Still no breeze. He seems to have found every hole there is in the breeze. But not this sailor. Neil MacDonald jibing across the stern of Tim Robinson with the big black kite. Robinson and his team have the boat absolutely beautifully set up. Looking over his shoulder, goes into a jibe just to go out the same side of the course as MacDonald. And that is how it should be done. Beautifully poised, coordinated teamwork. The boat hardly slowed at all. What a picture to end the third summer of skiff racing here in Britain as Tim Robinson crosses the line to win the final race of the 1995 Grand Prix. Neil MacDonald is second in Diamond. Dave Ovington is third in Slam.
Rockport win the last race, but not the regatta. That honour goes to Slam. Diamond second, Mustoe fifth. It means that at the end of the round, Diamond and Mustoe both finished on 77 points. But the tiebreaker went in MacDonald's favour because Diamond had the better discard. They're the overall champions.
That's great. Laurie will be happy. I thought he was going to kill me when I got home. But he won't be too unhappy with us now.
Yeah, 3 helms in 4 regattas. So, yeah, we've had a bit on, but they've all been good people. And I've thoroughly enjoyed sailing with these 2 guys this weekend. It's been a lot of fun.
Very close, very tight. Didn't really have it today. We had 2 bad days, and that really just dragged us down. So, over, Rover, till the next year.
So the result of the Brut UK Skiff Grand Prix series couldn't have been closer. You've got to take your hat off to the MacDonald boys and the way Diamond stuck in there despite having 3 different helmsmen in 4 regattas. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this unique brand of racing. Until the next time, goodbye.